Welcome to Chris Cook for You Too. I am excited about the recipe that I'm making today. I have been trying to make this recipe for 2 years and I have not been able to make it simply because I could not find one of the ingredients. And then my daughter said, why don't you go online and order it? Duh. I went online and I ordered it, and now I have it here. I ordered it from the company that I buy my fruits and my nuts from for the Christmas holiday. So if you want to prepare it, you might have to go that route, because I've tried several times at Walmart and other stores and they just did not have it. So today I'm making one that takes me back to my childhood, brings back very, very good memories. I'm going to make fried apple pies. This is really simple. It's really easy, but it's really, really good. I'm just going to add a couple more ingredients that my mom did not add when she was making this, but it's still going to be equally as good. Here are the dried apples. Now, normally you can get dried apples in your local grocery store, but for some reason I couldn't find them no matter how many times I tried. I even came online and asked some of my viewers, if you can find it, get it for me. Please get it for me. And I didn't get a good response out of that, so I'm thinking that they couldn't find it as well. But here you're going to need the dried apples. You're going to need cinnamon, nutmeg, and those are the two ingredients that my mom did not add, but I am going to add them. You're going to need pie crust. You're going to need butter, vanilla flavor, and of course sugar. Now with the pie crust you can make your own, but it's not necessary to make your own. It's going to be equal if you make your own or if you buy the one that's in the store. So I just chose to get the ones that's in the store because I don't want to go through that long process of making your own, and you're really going to get the same taste. So I'm going to go away and I'm going to get these apples put in a pot. Once I get them in a pot, we're going to start them to boil. That's the longest part of this process. It's going to take maybe about an hour to an hour and a half for these apples to actually boil. But I tell you, this is one that you don't want to miss. And if you can remember back to your childhood, you will know as well that this is a very, very good recipe. I'll be right back. Okay, now I'm at the stove, so I'm going to go ahead. I have 2 pounds of dried apples because I'm going to make quite a bit of it. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 2 pounds of apples, 1 pound and 1 pound packages. I'm going to go ahead and put them in my pot. And for those of you who don't know how it looks, this is the way it looks. It's just a dried apple. So to that, I'm going to go ahead and add 4 cups of water. So that means 2 cups of water for each 1 pound package of apples. Now I'm going to take my cinnamon. I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of cinnamon to my sugar, which works out to be a half a teaspoon for each. And of course, as always, your ingredients will be in the description box, and it'll be there just for the 1 pound of apples. So if you want to make 2 pounds, then you're going to double it. And I'm using a half of a teaspoon of nutmeg. That's a half of a teaspoon. Now I have my butter that's sitting over on the side, so I'm going to go ahead and put in a half a stick of butter, which would be a 1/4 of a stick if you're only going to use just enough for the 1 pound bag. I'm going to stir this sugar over in here. And for now, I'm going to add half of this sugar and let it just boil. So I'm only going to put in half of my sugar now. Then after it's boiled for about 30-40 minutes, then I'm going to go ahead and put in the rest. Now it's really going to take this about an hour and a half to actually cook up like I need it to. Okay, so that's about half of my sugar. And I'm going to put in about a teaspoon of vanilla. Now that's all it takes for now. So you can go ahead and let this just boil and boil it on a medium heat. You can let it boil for a good 35-40 minutes, and when it boils down, I'll bring you back. If you should run out of water, which I don't think you will, but if you do, then just add a little bit more water to it so you can complete the boiling process. So I'll bring you back in about 35-40 minutes. Okay, right, now I came back just to show you this. Do you see how the apples are actually bloating? As long as those apples are bloating, they are not done. And they're going to continue to bloat for a while. It's not time for me to put in the rest of the sugar yet, but I did want to show you this. So make certain that when you're cooking these, that you have a pot that's big enough to handle when they start to bloat or when they start to rise up and get bigger. And see, and so you want to stir in them a little bit. And even though I'm going to knock them down, they're still going to puff back up. And that's why I said the cooking process takes a little bit longer than it normally would take to cook. So we still haven't gotten to the part where I'm going to add the extra sugar, but I wanted to show you this because if you've seen it bloating when you were trying to cook it, you might wonder, why the heck is it bloating up like that? That just means that these apples were dehydrated, and now if you can look at them, they're getting back their regular size, which is the process that they go through when you're dealing with dehydrated food. So they're getting bigger, they're expanding. So I'm gonna keep on allowing them to cook, and remember, as long as they're like this, they are not done. So I'm gonna keep on allowing them to cook, and I'll bring you back when I get ready to add the rest of that sugar. Be back. Okay, now I'm back, and as you can see, they boiled down, and see they still have a little bit of the shape still to them, because that's what you want. You don't want it to be mushy. But as you can see, I did have to put some more water in it. This is how much liquids that I have. So I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of my sugar. And the reason why I added my sugar half and half, it was because I did not want this to thick up into syrup. Because if it thicked up into syrup and my apples were not done, then I would just have a complete mess, and I would have to just keep on adding water. So what I did was I waited to add it. So now, since they are done, I can go ahead and allow all of this water to cook out. So that's what I want now. I want it to cook out. And once it cooks out, I'm going to show it to you. Then I got to let this totally cool. And when it totally cools, then we can go ahead and make the fried apple pie. So you see how much liquids I still have over inside of my pot. So I'm going to let that cook out. Now, I did want the sweetness that when I put in the first cup of sugar, I did want the sweetness. I wanted it to boil, and I wanted it to constantly be getting sweet. That's why I added that sugar. But I didn't want that thick syrup. So now I can get that thick syrup, and I can go ahead and allow these to finish up. So they won't totally separate like applesauce. But to be like this, that's fine. Without the liquids, that's fine. Okay, so you got a couple of them in here that still probably need to cook just a little bit more. But I'm going to go ahead and allow it. And I'll be back once they cool. I'll be back, and then we'll put together these fried apple pies. Be right back. Okay, now I'm back, so I want to go ahead and show you how to make this into really apple pies so that we can fry it up. Here is the apples, and what I did was I let the apples just sit in the refrigerator for maybe about 5 or 6 hours. First I let them cool on the stove, then I put them in the refrigerator. And you don't want to work with them hot. You want to work with it cold because you don't want it to melt your dough. And if you work with them when it's hot, it's going to melt your dough. So you don't want that. So here is our apple pie or apple mix. And then we have here the pie crust. Now this is the pie crust as I showed you. And it comes 2 rolls. So you have 2 rolls. So you can actually get 6 pies out of 1 roll. And you can get less than that, or you can get more than that, depending on how big you make it. So what you want to do is you want to fold this over in half. And then once you fold it in half, you want to cut it in equal squares. Okay, and you only trying to get 3. So actually that's 3 apple pies. So we're going to just go ahead and do this one first. Now if you want them to be bigger, you can cut it where you can get 2, or if you want it to be smaller, then you can cut it in smaller, little sections. But 6, making 3, that's good enough for me. So you're going to take your pie crust and you're going to sit it down. And if you want to do homemade pie crust, go ahead and do it, but this is not necessary. This pie crust is just as good as if you made homemade pie crust in order to make this. This is a simple dessert, but yet a very good dessert. So what you want to do is you want to lay some of your apple mix down on your pie crust. Now, I told you that you don't want this to be hot. If it's hot, you're going to have runny juice. And that's what you don't want. You don't want any juice to be runny. You want this to go in, and you want it to go in solid. So you put just enough. Don't come close to the edge, okay? Even though I pierced that, don't worry about it. Don't come close to the edge. Just put enough in your pie crust just to form your little pie. Now, you're going to fold your crust over, and you can do it one of 2 ways. You can press this together, which is okay, but if you put it together with a fork, now I'm going to cut off just a little bit of the edge right there. Now, if you put this together with a fork, you can press it so that your juices won't come out. Okay? I can't see on that side, so I'm going to turn it. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, now if you press it with a fork, you're actually sticking both parts of it together. Now, if this was not cold, if it was lukewarm, or if it was just a little bit, there would be runny juices. That's what you don't want, because once the runny juices hit the cooking oil, you're going to get a splatter, or you may get a burn. So you don't want that. So that's the way you do it. There is your apple pie. And all we got to do is just fry it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 2 more. And don't put enough apples in there so that it's overrunning. You don't want it to run over. You just want to put enough apples in here so that you can seal this up. You get a good taste of apples and a good taste of crust. This is a very good dessert, and I'm telling you, this brings back very fond memories of the time that I spent with my mom and my grandmom, even though they're gone on. But this is one that really brings my heart a lot of joy. And like I said, I've been trying to make this for 2 years, and I couldn't find the dried apples in order to make it. Okay, for some reason they didn't have it. They had dried peaches, dried everything else, but they didn't have dried apples. Okay, now once you put it down, that's not the end of your sealing. You take your fork. If you see that you have too much on one side or the other and you want to cut it off, just go ahead and cut it off. Because you don't want to run that pie crust. You don't want to run the apples up to the end of the pie crust. Okay? You want to run it just where you'll be able to press together with your fork in order to seal this. Okay? This is real simple, but I guarantee you this is a good dessert. This is one from back in the day, but you will truly love this one. You will, okay? There is my second. And I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to go away. I'm going to get these all finished up, and in the next step, I'll meet you at the stove so that we can just go ahead and fry it up. Okay? So I'm putting this down. Like I said, don't overrun them. Because when they taste that apple that's on the inside of this, this is really good. This is really good. And I can't wait for these to get finished. Then you want to run it around. Kind of seal it with my hands. Take off a little bit of my excess crust. And then just go ahead and seal it. Now you shouldn't need flour, but if your fork starts to stick, you can just get a little bit of flour. Just put on the fork in to prevent it from sticking. Okay. Now how simple is that? That's real simple. Real easy. Only thing else we got to do is fry these up. And you don't want to prick it because you have to fry it on both sides. So you don't want to stick it and get holes in it. You're going to fry it on one side, then you're going to fry it on the other. And I'll show you that when we get to that step. So I'm going to go away and finish this up, and I'll be right back when I get them all done. Okay, I'm at the stove, and I have my cooking oil already in here, and this is fresh cooking oil. You don't want to use any used cooking oil because you don't want your apple pies to taste like either bacon or taste like chicken. So I've gotten my oil, it's heating up, and that's how much oil you want to put in there. Not a whole lot. And you want to place your pies in. Now these pies are cold, and the reason why they're cold is because we use cold filling. And using cold filling, that's the better way to do it. Try to see if I can get 3 in here. That's the better way to do it, because if your filling is cold, then your dough will not tear up. So we're going to go ahead and put that in and let that just go ahead and cook up. And once we get ready to flip it, then I'm going to bring it back. So all you want to do is just fry these up on one side, get it brown, and then fry them up on the other side. So this should take maybe 3 minutes on one side, 3 on the other. Keep your stove at a medium or medium low. You don't want to turn it any faster or any higher because you don't want to burn your apple pie. So I'll bring you back in about maybe a couple of minutes, and I'll show you when I get ready to flip them. Be right back. Okay, so it looks like to me it's about time to flip, and when I start to see the brown going around the edges of it, that lets me know that it's about time to flip. So all you want to do is to just flip this over on the other side. I want to move that one out of the way so I can flip this one. I should have put 2 in the pan, but instead I put 3. Let me get this other one out. And whoops. And flip it. There you go. Okay, that happens sometimes when you don't get your complete flip. Just go back and flip it over. Alright, I'm going to fry these up, and when I get through with these, I'll put the rest of them down, and I'll keep on doing it until I complete it and show you what the finished product looks like. Be right back. Okay, I got the last one in the skillet, and I got the remainder over here. This is a fried apple pie. That is the way it came out, and I know it's going to be delicious. I also have one that I got cut and is waiting on me. I let it cool, but it's waiting on me so that I can tear it up. And normally we don't eat these with forks. We just pick it up and we bite it. So got a little bit that's falling off here, but I can get rid of that real quick. Man, that is so good. I mean, that is really good. So I'm going to take this last one out. Cut my stove off. Okay, that's all Chris has for you today. Chris is making fried apple pies. And as always, thank you for watching. Chris cooked for you too. Bye!